Today's episode is brought to you by Audible. I am very open about the fact that I really don't like to read much, but I still want and need to get all of the information and the entertainment that those books hold. So I turned to audiobooks about 4 or 5 years ago, and let me tell you, boo, it has been on and popping ever since. Audible is offering my listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/unicorns talk and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a free title and start listening now. Go to audibletrial.com/unicorns talk to get your free audiobook today. Welcome to Unicorns Talk Podcast, your weekly girl talk about Black women, our healing, and manifestation. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, your life enhancement coach, and together we're going to live, laugh, and learn to love all of life's little messes. While I am a licensed clinician, please keep in mind that this show is not a substitute for your own relationship with a mental health provider. Let's go. Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 51 of Unicorns Talk Podcast. My name is Latrice Sampson Richards, and I am super duper excited about today's show. Today, ladies and gentlemen, is the day that we all have been waiting for. Today, you get a chance to hear the recording of my very first live show, Spirit Fingers. I'm so excited about this, which I performed at the beginning of last month at a Pod Connection ATL. So if you remember, over the summer, there was like a whole nomination process and a voting process where you guys, my lovely, amazing, awesome listeners, gave me an opportunity to perform my show live in Atlanta. I already told y'all how amazing, shout out to Derek. I already told y'all how amazing that experience was for me and how it really helped me to finally be able to see myself as a creative, which was definitely like a huge turning point in my life for sure. Anyway, there were 4 other shows that also performed live. There was Clearly Misunderstood, Social Complex, The Panel, ATL, and Petty Party Podcast. I'm sorry, ladies. And everyone had a really great show, to be honest. The topic of that show, for me, my show, was overcoming the 30-something crisis. And when I tell you it went down, listen, okay? It went down, all right? The show was, it exceeded my expectations. It was amazing. So today you finally get to hear that live show in its entirety, and I want to know your thoughts about the performance in general, but I also want to know what you think about the subject matter, because at the end of the day, this show is all about the content, right? And making sure that the content serves an actual purpose in your lives. And so let me know what your thoughts are. And that's what we got going on today. If you haven't already, please be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that you're listening right now. Make sure you use the hashtag Unicorns Talk Pod across all of your social medias and let me know that you're listening. Make sure that you share it in your stories and things like that. Share it on your timeline. Feel free to tag me directly at Latrice Sampson Richards, or you can tag the show at Unicorns Talk Pod, or jump up in my DMs, if there's a topic that you would like for me to cover. If you have any specific questions about an issue that you're dealing with, you'll hear like toward the end of the recording, we did the Ask Tree segment, which I'm always excited about and looking forward to. So definitely, let's do that or whatever. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump on into the live recording because it was only supposed to be 30 minutes, but somehow it ended up being almost an hour. Well, I know how that happened. Well, we had a few technical issues, but then also, this dude or whatever. Hey, Black Paco, or whatever, had threw me off my little game real quick or whatever. So, but it ended up being like almost an hour, which is crazy because when I was up there, it felt like it was 5 minutes, like for real, for real. So, but anyway, here is my first ever live show. I will see y'all on the other side and enjoy.
How many people in this room go to therapy? Or have been to therapy in the last year? Have been to therapy in the last year. Okay. I would like to see more hands. We all deal with conflict. I love therapy. Even with job stress, sometimes I feel like I want to slap somebody, and that's not healthy, you know? If you're going to work every day and you physically want to slap somebody, a simple conversation can help that. You having problems with your baby daddy, you can't leave him alone, okay? He's cheating over you with your sister and your cousin, but you won't leave him. Therapists can help you create those boundaries and work through that.
Yes, because that's a product of a bigger problem.
So are we ready?
Yes.
All right, cool. You have the floor. Everybody give it up for Latrice.
Thank y'all so much. Yes. So, hey, y'all. So my name is Latrice Sampson Richards. I am a licensed professional counselor and a certified life enhancement coach for Black women who are ready to heal from our past so we can build the future that we deserve. And this is my first ever live recording of Unicorns Talk podcast. So I'm kind of excited about that. I had got the bubble guts on the cool because I was like, listen, you want the truth or you? I did. It was a necessary part of life. You know what I'm saying? But they have so many really like great podcast here and like podcasters. Like the whole day has been so amazing, and so I am like closing out this portion of the day here. That's a lot of pressure or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a lot of pressure following up everybody. So y'all definitely set the bar high, and I'm gonna try to climb up and reach that thing. We're gonna see what happens. So Unicorns Talk podcast is a weekly girl talk about Black women, our healing, and manifestation. And so thank you so much for everybody for like sticking around and hanging in there and being a part of the manifestation of my own personal and professional vision. I'm so like freaking happy to be here. Like it's ridiculous how excited I am. I kind of want to do spirit fingers, but I feel like that might not be something I do that from time to time. So I actually like just realized that I was the only solo podcaster that was going to be performing today. And so I'm not going to lie, I feel a little special or whatever, This weekend has been absolutely amazing so far. I really had a chance to meet so many just dynamic individuals. I want to say thank you so much to a Pod Connection ATL for giving me the opportunity just to be here today, and for every one of my friends, my family members, and everybody that voted to give me this opportunity. I'm so grateful for just the support system that I have, both in my family, outside of my family, and niggas I don't even know, So, as you know what I'm saying? Like I need more of them niggas I don't know. I need more of y'all. So, making these kinds of connections is really important for us. Like it's important for us in general, but it's specifically as Black podcasters. We need to be able to make these kind of connections, as pretty much all of the presenters were saying earlier, we have to be able to support each other in this journey. I'm a huge proponent of Black people working together and supporting each other. And so this has been a beautiful, beautiful experience, just everybody getting along. I ain't had to slap nobody this weekend. You know, listen, don't get it twisted. I am from New Orleans. I will slap a bitch if that's what needs to happen. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm just grateful for people like Nick and Jaden who, you know, take it upon themselves to create spaces like this, because we need more of this, and we need to have more opportunities to be able to do that. So that's that. So if you listen to my show, or if you're a member of my Facebook group, Trust Village, then you know that my number one goal is always to be of service to any and everyone that I come into contact with. And so I wholeheartedly believe that this is my purpose. This is what I am supposed to be doing in my life. I am supposed to help to heal our community by teaching us how to heal ourselves individually. And so my work does target and focus on Black women, because we all know that Black women are the backbone of existence. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just be, sometimes, period, all the time. Okay? But, you know, what happens more often than not is that we tend to be extremely underappreciated, undercompensated, overworked, and it's just, you know, listen, I'm talking by myself up here, so I don't have a lot of people to funnel out all the extra talk. I want y'all to communicate with me, but don't drown me out, you know what I'm saying, because, you know, they taping this. So we got to make sure we get that recording, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you know, I do a little something. I do a little something from time to time, you know what I'm saying? I, you know, put a little thought into the outfit today. I did. I appreciate you for appreciating that. Thank you. Yes. So the truth is that, you know, the work that I provide, the information that I have to give, it's applicable to anybody in any situation. It's just good information. But I choose to target Black women because we need to know that somebody is out here. Watch yourself. You all right? Okay. All right. I laugh at a fall. It don't matter who. It don't matter who fall. It's funny every time, I promise you. So I'm going to laugh at the fall, and I'm going to check on you after I finish laughing. So, like, I feel like I really focus on working with Black women because we need to know that somebody is out here checking on us and that somebody is out here checking for us. Because, unfortunately, the people that are supposed to be providing us with that information, you know, they're always talking down on us, they're patronizing us, they're condemning us to try to get their point across. And we need somebody that helps us to believe, know, and understand that emotional, mental, and spiritual healing is for us. It is something that we do. And so I am that person, and I'm looking forward to being a part of your journeys. When I was planning my show for today, I knew that this was going to be a mixed crowd. So it's just so much diversity in the lineup for today. And so I knew that this was going to be a mixed crowd, and I knew most of y'all wasn't even going to know who I was. Y'all probably never heard my name before today. And so it was important to me to make sure that I brought something to y'all that everybody could benefit from, you know? And so I think I figured that out. So today's topic is Unstuck and Unbothered. Overcoming the 30-something crisis, all right? So I know, it's deep, y'all. It's good, too. Just as a side note, from this point on, anytime you listen to my show, because y'all going to listen to my show, anytime you listen to my show, you want to make sure you have a pen and paper handy, because whenever you listen to my show, we talking about real life shit. And so don't come and listen to my show if you're not ready to talk about real life shit. You know what I'm saying? My show is entertainment, but it's also informational and educational. And so whenever you come into contact with me, whether that is in my Facebook group, if that's attending one of my workshops, one of my webinars, or listening to my podcast, you need to make sure that you have something that you're ready to take notes with, because I'm going to say something that you're going to want to write down, all right? And so, I mean, it's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. And so, what I do is I take complex concepts and I break them down into palatable and manageable pieces so that you not only understand where you are and where you're going, but you can actually begin to take the steps in order to get there. And so I think that is a piece that has been missing in the self-help realm. Everybody talks about identification of the issues that we have, but ain't nobody telling us how to fix that shit. And so I try to give us real life steps that we can take. And I give it to you, with a shit or a goddamn sometimes. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I talk. All right? So, yes, yes. So all the time, God is good. And all the time. Yes, he is. Y'all know the mantra. All right, so I know that some of y'all don't know what a 30 life crisis is, okay? So I'm going to do my best to try to explain that to y'all. So everybody has heard of a midlife crisis, yes? We're all very familiar with a midlife crisis. A midlife crisis is where people really just start freaking out around 50 years old because basically they realize that they have already lived more years than they have left, right? And so they start making all kind of drastic life changes to try to make up for all of the time that they wasted. And a lot of times they waste this time either being afraid to live or living the way somebody else wanted them to live, right? So living a life that somebody else wanted them to live. That is a waste of time, okay? We're going to have a question and answer section? Yes. So just make sure. No, I'm just, okay, that's what I was saying, but I didn't want to say it like that. But there is, I am going to give y'all, I've left about 10 minutes at the end of my show to do a segment that I like to call Ask Latrice. And it's like one of my favorite things to do. And so you'll be able to ask any questions that you have, whether it's personal questions where you need some feedback or something. I mean, it's like free coaching, you know what I'm saying? Or if you have questions about what I talk about today. Yes? All right. So the midlife crisis. So what we're beginning to understand is that there is something similar that happens somewhere between the ages of about 25 and right around 35 or 40, where we start to become aware of the fact that we have no idea who we are or where we are going, and it freaks us out, right? And so the technical term for this phase of life is called the quarter life crisis. So if you're Googling to get more information, which Google is your friend. Google is your friend. Okay, so if you are Googling to get more information, then you're going to want to Google the quarter life crisis. But I call it the 30-something crisis because I was in my 30s when I realized that I was like right in the middle of that thing. You know what I'm saying? And so what I also realized, though, is that most black people tend to have this experience somewhere in their early to mid 30s. That as a culture, that's when we tend to hit this phase of life. And so I choose to call it the 30-something crisis, okay? So one of my favorite modern day philosophers is Michael Bernard Beckwith. All right, Michael Bernard Beckwith. I first became aware of Dr. Beckwith in the movie The Secret, which, side note, do yourself a favor and watch this movie or read this book or listen to this audio book, whatever floats your boat. I mean, it's literally, I watched the movie on YouTube. It had like 60 commercials, but I watched it for free, you know what I'm saying? So it's on Netflix. It's free? Okay. You're right. Okay, okay. Well, do yourself a favor and check out The Secret because it's a very, it's a very impactful book, and it really helped me personally in my own personal journey. It definitely was clutch. And so, anyway, Michael Bernard Beckwith was on an episode of Oprah Winfrey's, the podcast version of Oprah Winfrey's show Super Soul Sundays, okay? And this was a while back. I don't even remember. I be in the shower listening to my podcast. And so don't get no ideas. I'm married. So I have a whole little setup. Like, I be on this podcasting thing for real. So anyway, so he was on an episode of Super Soul Sundays with Oprah Winfrey. And so on that episode, he described the experience of feeling stuck, right? And so what he described that feeling as was being in a dark place. Being in a dark place where essentially you're not who you used to be anymore, but you're not who you're becoming yet either, right? And so you're kind of in this weird middle place where you don't connect with your past the way that you used to, and you're struggling to connect to your future because you don't know what it is yet, right? And so that really resonated with me because I know that feeling. Like, I know that feeling. I didn't know at the time that I was feeling that's what that feeling was. But I now have that understanding. And I'm willing to bet money that just about everybody in here knows that feeling as well, right? It's a part of life. It is something that we deal with as human beings. And I talk about human beings a lot on my show. Like, I say the word human beings often because I think a lot of times we feel like we the only one and something must be wrong with us. But ain't nothing wrong with you, girl. You just like everybody else trying to figure this shit out, and you don't know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. That's what it is. We all out here trying to make it. We all out here making mistakes, making poor decisions, and just trying to recover from those things. That's the reality of life, okay? When I was approaching 30, I was in a very dark place in my life. I hated my job. I had no clear plan or direction on, what direction I was taking in my career. I was living paycheck to paycheck. Girl, sometimes not even paycheck to paycheck. You know what I'm saying? Like, the struggle was real. My credit score was in the low 400s, I was dissatisfied. Yeah, that's low. That's low. It was, it was. Listen. Your first day at college, and you go get your books, and they got 5 tables set up outside the bookstore. If you sign up for this credit card, you get a free sweatshirt. I was like, oh, I want a sweatshirt. I want a sweatshirt. Let me go. I had 5 sweatshirts, and 3 years later, a 432 credit score. You know what I'm saying? And so I was dissatisfied in my personal relationships. My romantic relationships was a hot-ass mess, and everybody that I knew was getting on my damn nerves. Everybody. All at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Oh, girl. Listen, I don't have no collection plate, but I do got some T-shirts in the back. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? You give a little, you get a little. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is, all right? So I have PayPal. Okay, all right. And I have Cash App too, girl. Yes, girl. Listen. So I was unhealthy and I was unhappy, and really the only word that I can use and that I could use at that time to describe where I was miserable. That's it. I was miserable. I was in a deep depression, which I didn't recognize as a depression at the time, but it was. It was definitely a depression. And so thankfully, I never reached a point where I felt the urge or the need to harm myself or anything like that. But not everybody is that lucky, right? So I never reached that point. But at a certain point, I was like, God damn, something got to change. Like, this cannot be it. This cannot be what we working toward. This got to get way better than this. Can I catch a fucking break? I'm just saying. And so at that point, my journey of healing and manifestation began, all right? I truly believe that sometimes the best place that you can find yourself is miserable. Because misery is painful, right? And it is a very clear indication that your life is out of balance. And so as human beings, we are innately inclined to exist in equilibrium. And so when the pain gets to be too much, we are forced to take action in order to relieve that pain. All right? Now, you're going to do one or two things. You're going to do positive action or you're going to do negative action. Either way, you're trying to relieve the pain, right? And so when we take negative action, things like drugs and alcohol, isolation, promiscuity, right? And when I say promiscuity, I'm not mean I'm out here living my best life kind of promiscuity. I'm talking about I'm out here. I'm out here. Y'all know it's a difference. It's a difference. You could be out here living your best life and ain't nothing wrong with that. But if you out here, girl, you in trouble, girl. You in trouble, girl. I'm talking to the dudes, too. Because let's be real, depending on your age, it's not hard to get to 200, believe it or not. Depending on your age, if you 35 to 40, 200 is 10 people a year. That's one person a month with 2 months with not a date. But if you are 25 and your number is at 200, you in trouble, girl. You see what I'm saying? So it depends on where you are in your life. Okay? So the thing about those negative interactions or those negative actions is that they only provide temporary relief from the pain. And in most cases, it actually makes it much, much worse. Okay? And so, I'm sorry. That ain't nothing but the devil. That ain't nothing but the devil. You better get behind me, Satan. You better listen. I touched something. I touched this on accident. Can he come fix it? I don't know where he had it. I accidentally moved it. He's gonna come fix it. Test. That's not loud enough. It's not loud enough. How about now? Where he at? Test.
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Because anything above this is too high.
Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Listen, let me tell you how the devil really trying, because first he had lied and told me that my paper wasn't there no more, so I had lost all my little points, and then he messed up my little thing. That's all right. Not today. He is a liar. He's a liar and a fool. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Okay. Yeah, I got it. I just need to catch my spot again. I'm sorry. All right, so as I was saying, the reality is that these negative actions, they really only provide a temporary relief, and they actually, in most cases, end up making the situation much worse. And so the question then becomes, how do we relieve this pain, create balance in our lives, and also move our lives forward, right? That's the ultimate goal, is the movement, okay? So if you haven't already, go ahead and take out your pen and paper, because this is where you're going to want to start writing stuff down at, all right? So there's 3 basic steps involved in getting your life unstuck, okay? 3 basic, and I'm talking basic steps in getting yourself unstuck, okay? You're going to identify, educate, and implement. Those are your 3 steps. I got you, boo. I got you. You're going to identify, educate, and implement. Okay? All right, so let's start with the first one, identify. So in order for you to heal and manifest, you first need to identify what needs the healing. All right? And you also need to identify what it is that you're trying to manifest. All right? You cannot solve a problem if you don't know what the root cause of that problem is. You also cannot solve a problem if you don't know what the desired outcome is. You're solving it for what? Right? If you're in math class, they say you're going to solve for what? They mean what's on the other side of that? You want to know what you're trying to figure out what's on the other side of that. So you have to first identify what it is that needs the healing and where it is you're trying to go. All right? A lot of us, what we do is we focus all of our energy on the symptoms of the problem, but we never actually get down to the root cause of the problem because we get wrapped up in the stuff that we could see. You know what I'm saying? We get so caught up in what's on the surface that we never get past putting out fires. But what's causing the fire? Where's the source of the fire, right? We have to understand where it is coming from. And so we wonder why we keep having the same experiences over and over and over again, even when we are trying our damnedest. Like, I'm putting all my energy, I am trying so hard to get this together. I'm trying so hard to change this behavior. And we don't understand that the reason we're not healing is because you're not dealing with the thing, the actual thing, the root cause of it. Okay? You have to get down to the root cause of it, and you cannot do that if you don't identify what it is first. I dated the same dude for 6 years. 4 or 5 different dudes, but they were the same dude. Listen. Listen, I'm talking about the same dude for 6 fucking years. 6 years. In my mind, the problem was that there's not enough. No. First of all, you could never. No, boo. No. No. You could never believe that you could come into my show and say some dumb shit about me. That's not what's going to happen. Because what they say, I got that comeback. Oh, I still receive phone calls, and I've been married for 2 years. So, just saying. All I'm saying is, I don't know what kind of bitches you know, but what I could be clear about is I am not that bitch. So, We're going to move on. So I tried to tell y'all, don't forget, I have 2 degrees. I work with children. I have traveled the world doing military counseling, but I am from New Orleans, and what you're not going to do is play with me. That's what's not going to happen. That's what's not going to happen. So, yeah. Baby, it's not going to happen. So, anyway, I don't need a root. I got cousins. See that big ass dude in the corner? He for me. He here for me. All right, so anyway, let's go. It's all love, all right? Yes, ma'am. All right, so as I was saying, right? So I dated the same dude for 6 years. And so in my mind, the problem was that there's not enough good dudes out there, right? Or the problem was that these dudes just not ready for the kind of woman that I am. You know what I'm saying? In my mind, that's what the problem was. But the reality was that I was not emotionally available because I was afraid of allowing myself to be vulnerable in those relationships. And so because I was not allowing myself to be seen, but I set the expectation of wanting to be seen, then it set me up for failure each and every time. You see what I'm saying? That's the root cause. And until I addressed my issues with vulnerability, I dated the same dude for 6 years. You get what I'm saying? All right? So we have to get clear. I'm like 2 seconds away from asking you to step out. And that's real. Thank you. So we have to get clear about what it is that we are up against, okay? And then we get clear about where it is that we're trying to go. Most of us are very clear about what we don't want. We're very clear about what we don't want. We saw our friend go through it. I don't want that girl. We saw our mama go through it. I don't want that. I don't want that. But we don't know what we actually want. From relationships, from life, from our careers, from our finances, we don't know, okay? And so when you struggle to identify what it is that you need in your life, you cannot manifest that appropriately, okay? So it behooves you to spend some time to get clear about what it is you really want in every area of your life so that you can create a clear plan to achieve those things, all right? So, you threw me off. You done made me, you know? All right, so you can't get somewhere if you don't know where it is that you're going to end up, okay? You never know. Like, it's kind of like, y'all use Google Maps? Yeah. So you know how you put an address in Google Maps, and she be like, you have arrived at your destination, and you like, bitch, where? This is a vacant lot right here. I was trying to find the Winn-Dixie. I don't understand what's going on. You know what I'm saying? She didn't clearly understand where you was trying to go, right? And so the place that she brought you to, she thought was the place you was trying to go, but in reality, it was not, okay? So it's not enough to just know where it is that you want to be. It's a good place to start the process of figuring that out, but it's not enough to just know where you want to be. You also have to start moving in a direction of how to get to that place, right? So once you identify where you are and where you're going, the next step is to educate yourself about what it's going to take in order to get you there, okay? This means that you need to gather information related to your blocks and your obstacles, which is, it has its own identification process, right? Identifying blocks and obstacles, that has its own process in and of itself, okay? But if you go back to, but just to go back, if you go back and listen to some of my past episodes, I go into a lot of detail about blocks and obstacles because I really believe that we need to understand how these things work, okay? But just to give us a brief overview here, the difference between blocks and obstacles is that blocks originate within you and obstacles are outside of you. Now, that doesn't mean that they are outside of your control. It just means that they are outside of you. They don't have anything to do with who you are as a person, okay? So it's important for us to understand the difference between these two because the origin of the thing that you're addressing is going to determine how you address it because you address internal issues differently than you address external issues. So if you're not clear about whether or not something is a block or an obstacle, then you're not clear about how to address it. Yes? Okay. So blocks are things like mental and emotional baggage, right? So those are the things that we carry around with us from past experiences, whether it's our own experiences or the experiences of our ancestors, all right? Typically, they tend to be negative. All right? So these are all of the negative things that we think and say and believe and feel about ourselves that really keep us from being able to live our best life. Obstacles are the resources that we are lacking that are preventing us from being able to implement change in our lives. That is a significant difference. All right? Obstacles are things like skill sets, which can be taught and learned, okay? Obstacles are things like money, adequate housing, reliable transportation, childcare, okay? Things that are not really about you, but they impact you in a very real way, okay? So in order for you to be able to move into manifestation, you have to educate yourself about what these things are and what it is going to take for you to get them resolved in your life. And so when it comes to your blocks, you might find that what you really need is to journal a couple days a week or something like that, right? You need to process those emotions. You need to get that off your chest. Or you might realize that you need some professional help in dealing with the intensity of the negative emotions or thoughts that you're experiencing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine too, right? Some of y'all might need some medication or whatever to manage whatever it is that you're dealing with. And that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with needing medication to help get you balanced enough to learn the skills that you need to be okay long term. Okay? When it comes to your obstacles, you might need to take a few classes. You might need to go back to school. You might need to, start reaching out to your support system and actually asking for help. Ask your parents to keep your kids or something. Get you a bus pass. Figure out those obstacles, okay? So this process is going to look really different for everybody, and it's okay for you to take inspiration from other people's experiences, but you cannot hold yourself to the responsibility of having to do things in a way that work for them. You have to figure out what your path is, what works for you, all right? Because if you don't do that, then you're constantly trying to build a life that is not your own, okay? So all of this information goes into creating a plan, and that plan becomes your plan for manifestation, okay? And so this moves us into the third step, which is implementation. And so implementation, in my opinion, is the most important part of this process because implementation equals change. If there is no implementation, no change has taken place. It is that clean cut. If you don't do nothing different, you ain't did nothing different. Okay? So the implementation is the most important piece of this. You take all of the information from step 1, step 2, you create a plan that is well thought out at this point, and then you execute that plan. All right? And that is how you get yourself unstuck. That is how you move yourself to the next phase of your life. I want y'all to understand that this is an ongoing process. It's not something that you're going to do one time and then you straight for the rest of your life. You have to keep doing it. It's a cycle. Because life is a cycle. That's the way this happens. And when you achieve a goal, you create a new goal. And you keep moving forward. Okay? So that's the word for today. All right? I have like 5 minutes left. Somewhere right. Yes. Yes. We
I'm kind of short. Yes, thank you. No. I'm first. You better not be
trying to
disrespectful.
lower the mic. Jesus Christ.
That ain't your job.
I'm just lining up, you know.
Yeah, it's easier for me to see over here.
I shouldn't have cursed that loud. I just want to ask you before I forget because I'm a little under the influence, but we ain't going to trip. Thank you. Thanks, Jaden, the great Jaden.
He
Yes,
is
the
great.
great.
Isn't Jaden
He is
quite
great.
great? He's quite great
In
and
real
amazing.
life, he's great.
He is. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi. My name is Kayla. I don't have my own podcast, but I be on podcasts.
Okay.
Shout out to the Podcast Brothers.
Yeah.
Shout out to the John Effect podcast, and shout out to the panel. Hey.
Okay.
But I have a question. I'm 27 years old.
Okay.
And so, yes, 1991, 90s, baby.
Oh.
So,
Girl, I felt that in my chest, girl. That's
So I have a question, because in the first part when you mentioned identifying what your blockages or obstacles are, I guess more so for blockages, because that comes from the inside. Mm-hmm. How can I guess constructively identify what my blockages are? Like, what do you recommend? Because I feel like a lot of times I come from, or at least I try to come from, a place of gratitude. So it's like, even though this is fucked up, like, it could still be worse. Like, I know there are people who are in worse situations than me. So even though it's uncomfortable and it sucks, it could be worse. At one time, it was worse. Mm-hmm. So for that, I'm thankful that it's not worse. I'm not in the same position that I was. I know it can be better. You know what I mean?
I do. I understand exactly what you're saying. So the first thing that I want to say is that it could be worse. So fucking what? You know what I'm saying? It's your life. This is where you are. It's how you feel about where you are. It doesn't matter what it was 2 months ago. It doesn't matter what it was for somebody else or what it is for somebody else. You cannot determine the significance of your experience based on a past experience. You know what I'm saying? There was a time that I used to love riding roller coasters, girl. And then my daddy made me get on the Viper, and I was like, fuck these roller coasters. I ain't doing this no more. You know what I'm saying? But that experience, now that every experience is new information, right? So we talked about educating yourself, gathering that information. Every experience that you have provides you with new information. And anytime you receive new information, you are within your rights to change your viewpoint about that thing based on this new experience. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Not only is it within your right, it is required. It is
You know
required.
better, you do better.
You know better, you do better. Not even so much you know better, you do better. You know more, you do differently. You get what I'm saying?
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, I put that.
You know more.
Yes.
You do differently.
You know more, you do differently.
Okay.
So that's first
Thank
and
you.
foremost, is don't shame yourself out of your experiences. Those are your experiences and they are valid, point blank, period. And in terms of identifying your blockages, I think it starts with having a certain level of vulnerability. I talk a lot about vulnerability because that was my I have to get over kind of thing. Like, that was my come to Jesus moment for me in my life, was vulnerability. I was like the poster child for fear of vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I really try to make sure that we understand it's not just about being vulnerable with other people. some of us struggle to be vulnerable with ourselves, right?
Yeah, because you're so used to being the strong one, I gotta keep going, being
not only being used to being the strong one, but we are afraid to admit to ourselves that we are in the place that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to admit that I'm fucked up, girl.
High key.
I don't want to high key, not even low key. Like I don't want to admit that I struggle with letting go of this dude who I know he messed over me, and I know everything in my head is telling me that I need to leave that nigga alone. But my heart is like, but girl, I don't want to admit that. You see what I'm saying? We don't want to admit that the decisions that we made actually contribute to the place that we find ourselves. And so the process of identifying your blocks begins with getting real with yourself and being honest with yourself about the reality of where you are, the decisions that you've made, and making peace with that. Because that shit is done.
Right. Fucking hell, it didn't already happen.
So all you can do at this point is learn from it and move forward and try not to do that shit no more.
Amen.
So that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi.
Ooh, okay, I'm hella shook. All right, so I'm Avery from the Panel ATL podcast. My question is, dealing with the obstacles, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you continue to be motivated and inspired to keep going when things are out of your control? When it's like, it's just easy to just give up and try to do something else, but how do you keep being motivated to keep going?
Yeah, so I think the thing that you keep in mind, that's why I think it's so important for us to understand the difference between blocks and obstacles. Because I think when we struggle with motivation, when it comes to our obstacles, it's because we have taken personal responsibility for those obstacles. Like we have internalized those obstacles. I don't have the money to pay my rent. What does that say about me? I'm so stupid. I'm so bad with money. I always fuck shit up. I can't get nothing together. That is the internalization of something that is outside of you. Girl, money is money. You know what I'm saying? You need money, go find a way to get you some money. You get what I'm saying? So I think when we struggle with that motivation, it's because more than likely we are internalizing those obstacles. And so the first step is going to be to stop doing that. Okay. Allow an obstacle to be an obstacle. Look at an obstacle as an obstacle. An obstacle can be solved. You get what I'm saying? It's about resources. Where do I need to get these resources from? Do I have access to these resources? What needs to happen for me to get to these resources? Look at it as a puzzle that needs to be fixed, or a problem that needs to be fixed, not something is wrong with me. Now, it might be something wrong with you, but that's a block. You got to deal with the block. Now, what is the reason that you bad, like you keep running out of money every month? Is there a reason? Are you spending your money on, frivolous things? Why am I doing that? Because I feel like I need to keep up with the Joneses. That's the block. Okay. You get what I'm saying? That's the block. But the obstacle is the money itself. Do not internalize that. Okay? Okay?
Say less.
Yes. You have a question? Okay, all right. Yes,
This will
sir.
be the last question.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well.
Right,
how
good.
are you?
My
It's
comment.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
My comments earlier wasn't coming from a disrespectful place.
I
I'm a
understand.
random type of person. You know what I mean? And I apologize if I offended you.
I appreciate that.
You happy? All right. Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, but anyway, so
Yes, sir.
my comment earlier about the bad box, or
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. My thing is if you find yourself dealing with the same type of person for the last 6 years, obviously, like you were saying throughout the course of your discussion today, was, hey, maybe you should take some time and love yourself versus keep dealing with random guys and different women and different women. You know what I mean? And I felt what you were saying, you know what I'm saying, but I can be a little ignorant at times, you know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, I got a
you
little
get what I'm
ignorant
saying?
in me, too. Ain't nothing wrong with a little ignorant.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, pretty much what I'm saying is, like, I think that we all just need to love ourselves first, like you were saying. You know what I'm
I
saying?
agree. I definitely agree. But I just want to maybe just add a point of
Go ahead.
clarification
Uh-huh.
that I wasn't necessarily saying that we need to love ourselves, because we do. We do need to love ourselves. I'm all about self-love and stuff. But if you find yourself repeating the same experience, it's not so much about loving yourself as much as it is about understanding yourself. You get what I'm saying? And that's it's a clear distinction, and we have to make that distinction, because loving ourselves is not the same as understanding ourselves. You cannot change the behavior until you understand the behavior. Loving the behavior ain't gonna do shit for you.
But honesty, right?
Yeah.
Honesty with ourselves, right? So
Honesty,
like you were saying,
yes.
like, yo, don't go buy this, and you know you really can't.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the only reason why I really like to make that distinction is because, you know, like, love thyself is like it's a catch thing now. It's a trendy thing, and it has taken on a completely different meaning, and we don't understand what that means. But to understand yourself is to show love to yourself, because if you don't know who you are, then you cannot provide yourself with what it is that you need. So I try to stay away from the love yourself, like the catchy, trendy kind of stuff, because we need like real life concrete steps and shit. Like we on another level right now, you know, and we are ready for these changes. As a community, as a Black community, we are ready for these changes. So I'm trying to give us verbiage that moves us in the direction that we need to move.
Can I ask or say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
So when you was talking about in the beginning about midlife crisis, do you think with social media that we have these type of crises early in our lives?
Absolutely.
And
and I think that because the quarter life crisis is a relatively new phenomenon. It's not something that has been talked about and existed. I'm not going to say existed, but it's not something that has been like researched and stuff like since the beginning of time. This is a relatively new concept that has emerged in parallel with the dawn of social media, and everybody want to be on, and you want to have all these followers. That's a lot of pressure. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of pressure when I'm just out here living my regular ass life, and I look and I see that, she's so far from regular, you know what I'm saying? And Lord, he not regular at all, and
or
so
somebody you went to school with and they doing so much.
Yes.
You feel or they look like they doing so much better than you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. I did an episode a couple weeks ago, and I know it's time to wrap up.
My bad, Jay.
Yeah. I did an episode a couple weeks ago called Judge Not. Judge Not. I think it's episode 41 or 42, something like that. And I strongly encourage everybody to go back and listen to that episode, because what I talk about in that episode is all the reasons why you feel judged by other people. A lot of times it's not about the other people, it's about you. You feel judged because of you. And so I break it down into, the three main reasons why we feel judged by other people. And that's a part of that process of loving yourself by way of understanding yourself, is to acknowledge the reality of where you are. So I just want to say thank y'all so much for your time and attention today. Thank you so much. Y'all sure know how to make a girl feel special or whatever. I just want to say again that this experience, this is a huge, huge part of the manifestation of my personal and professional dreams, vision, all that good stuff, And so I'm extremely grateful to have had an opportunity to be able to participate in your journey, because if you never listen to another podcast, if you never come see me live again, if you never buy one of my webinars, if you never nothing again, I have participated in your journey. And so that does not escape me. I'm very well aware of what that means in your life. And I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to be able to participate in your journey. So make sure that you follow me across all social media at Unicorns Talk Pod. Okay, Unicorns Talk Pod. Check out my website at unicornstalkpod.com. Like I said, I got some shirts in the back or whatever. They $15 or whatever. Catch my episodes every Wednesday. I usually try to get them up by 1 o'clock. I'm working on that consistency thing, girl. I'm working on that. I ain't doing 72 episodes, though, because, podcasting is hard work. I've been needing a break, you can listen literally anywhere that you can listen to a podcast, you could catch my podcast. And so you could feel free. I know some of y'all still had questions. Feel free to talk to me afterwards or whatever. Thank y'all. And there you have it, folks. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. And I hope that y'all learned some new skills that can help you to overcome that 30-something crisis and get your whole life in order. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget to hit me up on social media. Let me know what you thought. You know what I'm saying? Jump on into my DMs. If you have any questions or if you have a specific topic that you want to hear more about, use the hashtag Unicorns Talk Pod to let me know how you plan on implementing the information that you learned on this week's show. You know what I'm saying? What notes did you take or whatever? I appreciate everybody. I appreciate everybody who voted. I appreciate everybody who attended. I even appreciate, Placo for interrupting and things, because from that, after that, he and I was able to have actually a really good conversation, and he opened up to me about some things that we actually going to be doing a collaboration soon. I'm going to be reaching out to him because he wanted to further that conversation. And so, some really great things came out of this experience, and I'm grateful for that. All right. So this episode is already kind of long. So there's no high five or reality check this week, but I do want to give a few shout outs. Actually, I do want to give a high five. I want to give a high five to everybody who got out there and voted in the midterm elections. I am recording on election night, so I'm recording on Tuesday. So I don't know how everything is going to turn out yet, okay? But what I do know is that this year, 33 million people voted early, which is an all-time record, I believe, okay? So high five to everyone who did their civic duty and stood in those lines or mailed in that ballot or did whatever it was you needed to do to make the effort to turn this Titanic ass government around. Let's hope that it's enough to avoid the iceberg this time. We'll see, which side note, did y'all know that they was doing redoing the Titanic, like the actual ship? Like, why people can't just leave Good Enough Damn alone? It's called the Titanic 2, and it's supposed to be like an exact replica of the original, and it's gonna set sail for the exact same route that the original did as well. So I'm gonna be all the way real. If we're gonna be all the way real about it, I hope it's not exactly the same, because clearly there was some issues the first time around, okay? So I hope they work those kinks out or whatever, but either way, I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I'm not interested. I want no parts of it, and they plays entirely too much. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I do have a few shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Stephanie, the life architect. Hey, Steph, I finally got a chance to get caught up on her new podcast. I Said No podcast, and it is so awesome. Like, Steph is an amazing person. She is a phenomenal woman. She's a light force. She really is. And it comes through in her show. So y'all make sure y'all check out I Said No podcast. I also want to give a shout out to a little girl at the center that I work at. I work at it's basically a daycare center, and I'm the counselor there. I'm the therapist there, and so I work with little kids, infants to age 5 years old, and I freaking love these kids. They are so awesome and amazing. And so earlier today, we were outside because it was actually like 50 something degrees outside, which I never in my life thought that I would consider 50 degrees as not so cold. But, Germany or whatever. And so, anyway, we were outside playing, and one of the little girls came up to me and she was like, I have a surprise for you. I have something to show you. And I was like, oh, for me? Because I enjoy as a surprise or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I love a good surprise. So I was like, for me? And she was like, yeah, I have a surprise for you. So I was like, oh, okay. So she was like, I need help with my jacket. So I helped her unzip her jacket, and she threw her jacket open, girl, like Superwoman, girl. It was so cute. She threw her jacket open, and her t-shirt said, unicorns don't have to do cardio. And I was like, girl, the Lord has sent you to me. He really did. The Lord has sent you to me today because he needed for you to let me know that unicorns don't have to do cardio. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been trying to get my life together and everything. You did. And it's been a struggle. I ain't even gonna lie. So that baby had really sold into my life today with her unicorns don't have to do cardio shirt today. And she was like, this message is for you, and I need you to receive this message. And I just want her to know, even though, she don't know I have a podcast and she's not gonna be listening or whatever, but I just want her to know that she had ministered to me today. All right. So shout out to the little cutie patootie unicorn over at the place of business. I also want to give a shout out to Black expats around the world Facebook group. If you are a Black expat and living anywhere around the world, you should check out this Facebook group. It's a really good group. It's about Black people who travel abroad, or are interested in traveling abroad. You don't have to already be abroad. If you're interested in living and traveling abroad, it really is a great resource. They talk about how you can get jobs. Like, you can get a job that will pay for you to travel the world, to live in another country, take care of all of your living expenses. You hear what I'm saying to you? Take care of all of your living expenses and pay you on top of that. So this can happen if this is something that you're interested in doing. I'm in Germany right now. I've lived in Japan. I've lived in Cuba with my job. And I ain't had to pay $1 to do none of this. Okay, so check out Black Expats Around the World Facebook group and, see if you could get any information out of that thing. Okay. All right. And then I want to give a shout out to the chick from Xfinity Customer Service. I am so sorry, girl, but I wrote your name down and I left it at home, so I don't remember your name, and I apologize. But you know I'm talking to you, girl. You know I'm talking to you. She was extremely, extremely helpful to me when I called to cancel my internet service before I left to come to Germany, because there's like no reason at all for me to pay $75 a month for something I'm not using. I mean, hello, I'm in Germany. There's no reason for me to continue internet at home because it was just for the business. So anyway, I told her about my show while she was helping me out, and I told her that I was going to give her a shout out or whatever. So hey girl, hey. Okay, I hope you're listening. And thanks for tuning in. Okay, don't forget that if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, you can reach out to me on Talkspace online counseling therapy platform, or BetterHelp online therapy platform. I am a huge proponent of online therapy for minorities, specifically Black people, people of color, and people belonging to marginalized groups. It is the wave of the future. This is the direction that it's going in, and if you are considering working with somebody, if you are international or you live in the state of Louisiana, then you can definitely work with me directly. The link is in the show notes. But if you don't live in Louisiana, if you live anywhere else in the United States, still check it out, because it opens up your options. It gives you more options to choose from in terms of how you can, get the help that you need and work with somebody that you can feel comfortable with. Okay. Make sure you register for my free Empower Your Vision Masterclass, which I'm actually going to be redoing that really soon. So make sure you get on the list. Okay. Join my free Facebook group, Trust Village. Tune in to Unicorns Talk Back, which is my new IG live show. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. It's been a struggle trying to do the Unicorns Talk Back, but I am determined to incorporate this as a part of my thing, because it's important to me to be able to do that, okay? So every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern, check it out, okay? Follow me on all of the social medias at Unicorns Talk Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also follow me directly at Latrice Sampson Richards on Facebook and Instagram, and L Sam Richards on Twitter. Okay? That's all I got for y'all today. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. I'm looking forward to talking to y'all. Let me know your thoughts about today's episode. And until next time, be well. Bye, y'all.